Welcome back. Well, this is it, guys. This is the last part of the 12 principles of animation. Thanks for sticking around. As I already stated, that this is the last and final piece of the 12 principles of animation. And in this video, we're going to go over straight ahead action and pose to pose, follow through and overlapping action, solid drawing, and appeal. Straight ahead and pose to pose. These are two different approaches to the actual drawing process. Straight ahead action means drawing out a scene frame by frame from beginning to end, while pose to pose involves starting with a drawing from keyframes and then filling in the intervals later. Straight ahead action creates a more fluid, dynamic illusion of movement and is better for producing realistic action sequences. On the other hand, it is hard to maintain proportions and to create exact, convincing poses along the way. Pose to pose works better for dramatic or emotional scenes where composition and relation to the surroundings are the greater importance. A combination of the two techniques is often used. Okay, so for the wallflower animation, when I hear the words pose to pose, this is basically getting your keyframes together. Sat, and the first thing I did was I drew the main actions that I wanted to draw in very, very rough timing. And this is going to be sped up so you can see that I'm actually taking, a few frames at a time, but the timing is not perfect, but I'm just getting it in a space where it can read. I need the actions to read to myself and the potential viewer that this is happening or whatever is happening. Okay, for all of my other bouncing ball across the screen animations, all of this is happening straight ahead. Yes, I'm aware of the beginning frame and I'm aware of where the frame is going to go, but for the most part, I am just going one after another, pose to pose. And the only reason I felt comfortable doing that is because I just remember it from back in school, and like I said, as I'm learning, I'm trying to teach, so I had already done a ball bounce across the screen a couple times. Solid drawing. The principle of solid drawing means taking into account forms in three-dimensional space or giving them volume and weight. The animator needs to be a skilled artist who has to understand the basics of three-dimensional shapes, anatomy, weight, balance, light and shadow, etc. For the classical animator, it involved taking art classes and doing sketches from life. One thing in particular that Johnston and Thomas warned against was creating twins, characters whose left and right sides mirrored each other and looked lifeless. Okay, for solid drawing, I have this video of myself showing two ways of doing a bouncing ball. And this is a looping bouncing ball in place. And if you look on the left of your screen, I used just a simple brush. I didn't care how I drew the circle, I just drew the circle. And on the right hand of your screen, I used the pencil tool, and the line is very clean, it's very crisp. And when I play this video, you'll be able to see the difference between sloppy drawings and solid drawings. And don't get me wrong, if your style is sketchy, because I've seen a couple animators on YouTube where their style is very sketchy, but because they have a sketchy consistency, it looks good. And what you don't want is to have sketchy lines and be completely consistent, or inconsistent, I should say. And another thing is sometimes wobbly lines make people sick. Like, there's this TV show called Home Movies that used to be on Cartoon Network Adult Swim, and I love that show. But the issue is it had scribbly lines, very sketchy, and yes, that was the style, but it was very hard to look at. It wasn't very appealing to me, at least, but I enjoyed it because it had great story. And then Squidbillies is another ugly drawn sort of show, but hey, it exists. Appeal in a cartoon character corresponds to what would be called charisma in an actor. An actor who is appealing is not necessarily sympathetic. Villains or monsters can also be appealing. The important thing is that the viewer feels the character is real and interesting. There are several tricks for making a character connect better with the audience. For likable characters, a symmetrical or particularly baby-like face tends to be effective. A complicated or hard to read face will lack appeal. It may more accurately be described as captivation in the composition of the pose or the character design. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is character appeal. And I'm just doing a Google search of animated characters. And if you look at all the different types of characters, most of these characters are very popular, and you know why. Well, I don't know about what happened here, but these characters are very appealing in the way they're drawn and the way they're expressing themselves. Your character doesn't have to be very complex. Most animated characters are simple characters, as far as very little lines are used to exhibit. Like, only the important lines are used to show the character. And the reason why this is important is because you're going to have to animate it. And if you're animating it the way I'm going to teach it, which is one drawing at a time, each line is going to either annoy you or speed the process up. So these are all simple characters, but what about if you look at comic book characters? And though a lot of these characters have been turned into animated series, if you look at comic book art, this is a lot of lines. Like, these characters are not ready for animation without simplification. If you put comic book characters and versus animated character, just to see like the difference. Like, okay, let's do a prime example. Wolverine comic. Okay. So this is Wolverine. Not very complex, but for animation, yes. Now look at, let's see here. X-Men Legends, or X-Men Evolution Wolverine. Whoops. Look how simple, like, they got really simple for this guy. They took out all the extra lines. You only have the lines that you need. And the only reason I'm doing Wolverine right now is because that's the only character I could think of, but you could use others. Okay, maybe this isn't a good. Alright, let's do Captain America comic. Alright. Very, very busy guy, right? Especially, look at this. Look at that. Imagine trying to animate this frame by frame. Alright. And let's do Captain America animated. Put a space there. Look how simplified he is now. They gave 3 little, for that little texture, they gave 3 little ones. 3 little lines for that texture. But very simple. Only the line that is needed. So, my point is, I forgot what my point was. I think that this is a good time to also add in another principle. And this will just be my personal principle. And hopefully, if you're following this channel, you might take this into account in your own animation ideas or your character designs or anything that you develop. Story. And the reason why I think story is important is because, I mean, just look around. Most of the stories that are being told in television, in movies, some books, are just the same stories regurgitated over and over with different characters that aren't necessarily even that interesting. But original stories are very rare in this day and age. So I feel like you can have the most beautiful drawings, the most amazing looking characters. Your animations could be extremely fluid and beautiful to look at. But if the story isn't captivating, then what's the point? I've seen it at both ends, and I'm pretty sure you've experienced it too, where you've had badly drawn cartoons that the stories are really good and they're funny and they're entertaining, but you've also had really beautiful drawn cartoons or animes and the story was so lackluster and so boring that no matter how amazing it was to look at and watch, you didn't enjoy it. So I think story is just as important as your drawing and just as important as your character designs. But that's just my advice. So that is the video, guys. Thank you for sticking with me on this 3 video journey. You now have all the principles you need to start animating. You actually don't even need to animate with these principles if that's what you choose to do, but these principles can help your animations look better. So please give it a try. I want you guys to try out the ball bounce in place, try out the ball bounce across the screen, and try out the ball bounce with a tail. Or just try to take a simple ball and give it character, give it life, and tell a story with it. You know, and let me know how it goes. Like, let me know what your struggles are. Let me know what principle you're still struggling with. And, you know, these videos are going to be here as time grows. As time goes on, I am going to get better and I will revisit these and give all the tips and tricks that I learn along the way. But for now, that's that. Check back next week. I will be going over the exercises that I'm going to be doing to help improve my understanding of working in animation in the 3D space. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share the video with any other friends that happen to want to know how to do this, because we need more animators out there, guys. Bye.